about to explore, both Lynette and I decided it kind of would be placed at the end of the year, because each of the lessons can be used independently. If you don't get past the second lesson, it actually still formulates that you've learned something and you can move on. So in that time frame in June, when you get disrupted with track and field and jump for heart and all that sort of thing, this would be okay to land in there. If you have a certain sort of cleanup and etc. going on as well, this would be a good unit to kind of tuck in there, get some things done. That being said, it could be used at any point in the year as well. The exit card for lesson 1 is actually every child gets a sticky note. And on that sticky note, what they need to write down is where do they get their music from.
You want to
if you wouldn't mind, there's lots of pens and pencils. Where do you get your music from, or where do you know that others get their music from? They don't see it again, and they don't see it again until lesson 4. So really, this is you collecting information for them. This goes with the game in lesson 4. Ultimately, you're going to kind of get to see how many students actually pay for music, how many know that iTunes exists because they don't log on to it ever, or what are the new current websites for illegal downloads. So Grooveshark, LimeWire. The next lesson has to do with you need a little bit of convincing and charm, because you're going to talk about Facebook. And we're not going to talk about the implications of it, positive, negative, should you do it. But you're going to actually hand out something to your students, and you're going to convince them that absolutely yes, I am going to destroy this, and I will destroy it in front of you. Okay, so I'm going to give you this card. I'm just wondering, could you just write, you can do a fake one if you'd like. Can you write down your email address and your password for Facebook? And I need you to trust me that I'm actually just going to, I'm not going to give it to anyone, I promise. You can make up a fake one, that's fine. I have my shredder here beside me, or I will rip it up in front of your eyes, if you wouldn't mind. And you'll have some students do it, some not. So we'll see if they'll actually write stuff down. Some will. I usually had 2 or 3 that will trust me to do it, and most won't, and they'll be very unhappy, and that's okay.
So just put a fake one down.
You can put a fake one down for me. Yeah, I'm going to give it back to you. We're not actually going to keep it. So, wonderful. Thank you so much. You've given this to me. That's great, Lynette. Wonderful. Okay, so you trusted me. I convinced you that you're going to trust me. Actually, here you go. You can have Lynette's here. And then I take it back. Before I actually give it, and the riot begins within your classroom, you don't actually hand it away. Right? So it's really just the hook and the starter. You can then shred them all, okay? And you say, intellectual property. How do you define who owns it? And you can talk about morals. You can talk about the idea of, tell me what you think, how do you define that you own this, that this is yours? Because if I find this, can it not become mine? If I hack into this, are those pictures then not mine? How do I feel responsible as an individual that there should be a moral reason for me not to use this? And what it does is launch the idea of moral. Appendix F is an exit card. And it says, should copyright, we need to debrief what copyright is prior to this, and that comes out through the lesson, be a moral decision or a law? So we actually have to talk about what is a moral decision first. And it gives a chance for kids to kind of debate that. And what is intellectual property? So how do you actually figure all of that out with the students? So how do you define property? Kids have agree or disagree cards. So at their table, as they're discussing things, what is property? They can stick that out. And if they really feel the need to say something, you can set the norm for how you're actually going to allow them the opportunity to talk about it. So there's agree and disagree cards. I'm going to let you continue that. I just put a piece of paper down over here. And we talked about what is property. There was already some discussion. So using your agree and disagree card, why is it important to be the owner of your own intellectual property? Final decision about this, it's really discussion. It becomes open-ended. It's not going to be finalized. But it allows them to get that discussion out there.
Getting you thinking about it.
Yeah, that it exists actually. The next lesson allows students to kind of find out who's involved in actually producing a song. And who's involved in producing a song, they may not know who's behind the scenes, I guess is the way to go. And again, provided within the Blackline Masters are a breakdown of all of these jobs. And you can see here's one for example, the studio/session musicians. Here's a job
Oh, it tells
description.
them, okay.
Yeah, here's the personal characteristics. You need to be this kind of person in order, if you're looking at doing this. Here's your educational requirements, and here's what your salary might be. You're going to give them a numbered heads idea or a lettered heads. They go, they learn about their person, they bring it back to their group, and then the group needs to fill out something. Each person needs to fill out this chart. So occupation is the actual recording artist. What is their salary? What's the educational requirements? What is the responsibilities? Now I have it in my mind. So ultimately they end up creating this appendix of, if I was given $100 based on my salary, here's the salary of each of these people for within $100. How does that divide into a pie chart? And they create this, so they get that visual content of how much does somebody get for doing an actual song. The next point is the game. This is where the stickies come back into play, that were used as the exit cards. Okay? So prior to, I have blank cards here, which again are provided on the template. I did a couple up just in case. So I have LimeWire, which does still exist, and I have FrostWire. These are our illegal downloads. Okay, so as students come into this classroom, you're going to give them each a card. Okay, they're either going to be the fan, who's the person that spends the money. They're going to be one of these 5 artists, or they're going to be one of these guys. Okay. Now, they shouldn't know what their game is yet. So what you're going to do is you're going to ignore Lynette, okay? And Lynette being the person who's the illegal downloader. You're not going to actually announce to the people. I may put Lynette's on a different color, because then without identifying that they are the illegal downloaders, I would say to the people with the, say if you were green cards, green card people, I just need you to go and sit at the back of the room right now. Go on and sit back there. I'm not talking to you for another 5 minutes, okay? And they can go back to the back and just have a seat back there for a minute. Fans, you need to go and find your different people, and you're actually going to dole out your $200 based on the percentage of how much we should get. Okay, so if you want to simplify it, you could pare it down to $100. We're rounding. So I'm a session musician. You need to find me, and you probably need to give me $12. Okay, so you have 10, so we can round down. That's fine. The closest number. Thank you very much. Okay, and we have our songwriter is over here,
I'm the recording engineer too, apparently.
and the recording engineer.
So you need 23, so there, I'm rounding down.
And I'm also the producer.
Okay, so you need 20.
Thank you.
It's the producer.
I know. So basically you're going and giving out money. You're milling around the room. This needs to be an active activity where everybody the fans and the actual musicians are going to mix around the room, finding money. Oh, thank you very much. I need this from you. Oh, thank you. I need this much from you. But then at the last minute, the teacher's gone over to the back room and they said, okay, now it's your turn. And the illegal download people actually come and take all the money from everybody.
Oh, that's funny.
So the last idea is maybe you ring a bell or something, and the illegal down people just get up and they just start taking everyone's money.
Oh, I can just see what would ensue there.
Oh, it wreaks havoc. It would absolutely wreak havoc, but the point is well taken. So, and that's the end. So that's the end.
Lesson 4.
No one's left with money except for the illegal downloaders. And they've taken it all from everybody. There does need to be a little bit of prep to avoid the chaos. So they do need to have a greater idea of you have been given $100 or $200. What percentage does that work out to? I know that I'm going to get this percentage. With a younger group of students, perhaps I put that on the back.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Here's how money you need. Maybe you use Monopoly money where you have different money values as opposed to just the $10.
Oh, I see.
Right? There's lots of ways to modify it to make it more organized, but I myself am not a fan of chaos. I like organized chaos, so this to me is exciting, but I need to have structure within it. But that's how the game exists, and it gives that real idea of, ooh, if I illegally download, no one gets money, then what? Right? Then I don't know that I'd just leave it there. The impact is there, right? But then you need to almost discuss.
Discuss it.
You need to discuss, well, who are these people? They now have no jobs. So is new music going to be produced?
And you have no songs.
And you have no music. And how much of you can expect you can go through a day with no music? So we did a day here a few years ago where I was trying to do the impact of music. So my staff was wonderful. We eliminated all music from the entire school for an entire day. And there was no O Canada, and there was no announcements music to get you into the school, and there was nothing throughout the day. All the primary teachers shut down their music. So it was very interesting to kind of see that. Do you know how music actually affects you within the regular day? So that could be the affecting tool for that afterward. It's not so much the rules and regulations of copyright as it is bringing attention to the fact that copyright is important to uphold and understand because of the implications if you don't do so. It is, again, as a discussion starter for the students, but it talks about in 2001, I believe is where it starts, how much of our purchasing was done in what format. So the CD single is in red, or sorry, is in yellow, and then you can freeze them as well. But it gives you the opportunity to see that by 2010, we're actually looking at CDs went to 50%, a downloaded single went to 20% of our purchasing. So we see the trend shift to digital music. Here, that was CDs. 2001 was CDs. So that much of the pie, okay? And you can see how it actually goes. And so I just thought it was an interesting hook as kids are coming in. You can then discuss it and have it launching off. If you go to lesson 4,
It's listed.
it's there and it's a link as well. So if you actually bring up the site on they're all hyperlinked.
Okay.
So if you go to the lessons and you call them up in your room, you can hyperlink. If you want to end it there, fine. If you feel like you need an evaluative tool, then there is the final lesson is a media campaign that talks about how to actually observe the rules and regulations of downloading a copyright. You can do so in a traditional matter of pen and paper. You can do so if you have a larger class, if you teach media literacy as well. You can actually integrate that into a unit on media literacy, PowerPoint, etc. And there's rubrics included within the unit.